And away we go. So, that's as I am recording this, tomorrow is that particular day of the year where everyone has the greatest excuse in the world to say whatever the heck they want and may likely not get into trouble with it. Not to say you won't get into trouble if you say anything highly incriminating. Tomorrow is the day that uh, jokes are being planted on people, pranks are pulled, and people write and report stories that aren't remotely true, and everyone is, well, at least most people, will know that these stories are not real, and they know that the pranks that they're pulling was to be expected. I don't have to say what that day is. What I already give to you, what I have said to you, what I'm saying to you right now is more of an enough context that you need to know for that particular day of the year. So let's see what me and the lads have sent to the group chat. Something that caught our eyes, sharing, give our thoughts and whatnot. And it's been a while since one of the lads have actually said something about anything that I've sent. So there isn't much that has been sent since the last time I recorded a podcast episode. I sent a link, and I found this on a Facebook page, on a Facebook post. This website is called britain.vote.now/local elections. And for anyone that isn't from or currently living in the United Kingdom, May 7th, last time I checked, is the day of the local elections across England. I'm not sure local elections within Wales, Scotland, or Northern Ireland. I know one thing's for sure, there are local elections in the UK taking place, mainly in England, across many of the council wards. I've sent that particular link showing, and actually before I get into the responses from the lads, and they have said something about this, the context of Britain.vote.now is a website. It's more than just a poll aggregator that takes multiple polls and creates a comprehensive indication of how people across the entire country, varying by different councils, will vote for which party. There is lots of data, infographics, looking at, and they're very detailed too. You can look at specific wards across multiple local councils across England, and also the seats for Wales and Scotland for their upcoming countrywide elections. That's also taking place on the same day as the English local elections. And according to the projections, there's a lot of data. If I were to go through all of them, it would be taking like half the entire day. So what I will read to you now is, given the data across the many council wards in England, as well as the results for the Welsh Senate and the Scottish Parliament, Scottish Assembly, here are the results of how many seats specific parties will win first place, or at least win number of seats in the aforementioned data outlines, such as English council wards, Senate seats in Wales, seats in Holyrood, Scotland, and there's also local mayoral elections. Not to be confused with the devolution mayoral elections, such as Greater Manchester, Liverpool City region, Greater London, Teesside, and so on. Greater Manchester, Liverpool City region, Teesside, or Tees Valley, those are devolutional mayoral races. There's only a handful of local mayoral elections taking place, a lot of them which are in London, so go figure, I guess. Okay, now, According to Britain.vote.now, here are the results showing which party gets how many seats in the aforementioned categories. So, starting off with the English council wards for the English local elections. Now, the only parties that are displayed across all of these polls, according to Britain.vote.now, are the Greens, the Tories, Lib Dems, Reform, and Labour. Those are the parties that are commonly mentioned. Any other parties like Restore Britain, Your Party, Workers' Party of Britain, and any of the fringe political parties, it's hard to tell about how many seats they'll get. It's just looking at those five national parties who are guaranteed to get a handful of seats in the upcoming local elections. So starting off with the number of seats that independent candidates will get. Now, I'm not sure if this categorizes as other political parties that are not displayed separately. Nonetheless, according to Britain.vote.now, the number of seats that independent candidates will get for the English local elections, 134. You know what? Not too bad. Not too bad. It's pretty good. That's a pretty good result, given that they're not fully established like all the other parties. It's a good result in my opinion. All right. Next, the party that receives 257 seats is the Greens. I'm a bit surprised that the Greens are projected, according to the website, 257 council wards seats. I thought they would have gotten a lot more, given how much support and popularity the Greens are getting right now. Of course, Grisk heavily despises the Greens. In fact, he would rather have Labour win most of the seats than the Greens. Nonetheless, I would believe that the Greens would get more support because most of the new Green Party supporters came over from Labour because of Labour, as being the current UK government, not fulfilling on most of the promises that they say they will fulfill as of yet, and as of now. And I'll leave it at that. Next is the Conservatives, or briefly known as the Tories. Number of seats the Tories will get, according to the website, of Council Ward first place seats, 396. It's not bad, but it's not as... I mean, given that they're a traditional established party, kind of mediocre. It's not mid, it's mediocre. It's below mid, slightly, just slightly. It's not too bad, it's just not good enough in my opinion. It could be more if another party in particular that I will mention at some point weren't the ones taking the majority of the voter base from the Tories. Yet here we are, the rest is history, so on and so forth. Okay. Next, the party who are projected to receive, 480 seats are the Liberal Democrats. Now, I would say this is a pretty good result for the Lib Dems. Then again, the Lib Dems do a lot well in local elections, much more so than elections for Westminster seats. So, good result for the Lib Dems. Then again, the Lib Dems always get very good local election results. So it's nothing new, it's nothing spectacular. It's just expected, most likely expected. Okay, next, the party that receives 691 seats across English council wards is Labour. Yes, Labour is projected to get 691 seats across many of the English council wards. To be honest, given the circumstances that they're in right now, it's quite the miracle for them. Well, taking into account the current number of seats that Labour currently does have, 691 seats is certainly a massive downgrade compared to the number of seats that Labour currently hold right now. Even if most of the Labour seats aren't even up for this year's local elections, it's still not a very good result for Labour. And I'd say the same for the Tories. But of course, we all knew this was going to happen to the Tories. 14 years in government, and look where that got them. And of course, finally, the party that a lot of people are talking about, and a lot of people I know heavily despise, the party that is projected to receive 993 English Council Ward seats, Reform UK. Come on, guys, we all knew this was going to happen. Of course, again, I know people that do not like reform, and it's okay to have those opinions. There's no arguing about the dominance of reform, and of course, there's no arguing about whatever reform are proposing, not just for the local elections, but also what they're also projected to propose once they become the next UK government, which, of course, it is inevitable. Things could change. As of now, that's how things stand. I'm being honest. I try to be objective. I have a bias to some things. Sometimes I try to be objective about uh, subjects and results, like as the such I'm discussing now. If there's any other chance for other parties to take over the crown that Reform currently has, then I would say that party could possibly certainly challenge Reform in the upcoming years. Until then, Reform could spend a fraction of their current budgets from their donors, and they can still achieve the results which they will receive, close to thousands of seats in local areas. So yeah, there's that. Next, let's look at how many seats political parties in the UK will win in the Welsh Senate. So the party that will win at least one seat is the Lib Dems. Okay, don't have a strong opinion. It's something. It's better than nothing. I'll give them that. It is better to have one than none. All right. Next party that's going to win at least 3 seats in the Welsh Senate is the Greens. Again, I thought they would win a lot more seats across multiple local elections that are coming up this year. Nonetheless, it's something. It's a start. In the next few years, in the local elections and even by-elections at any level, the Greens will continue to rise, as will their support. Even the same could be said with Reform. Even the same could be said with Reform. The Greens are on the rise at the expense of Labour, of course. There's no other way of putting it. The party that's going to win 7 seats in the Welsh Senate is the Tories. Not surprised. I'm not going to say it's disappointing. I do believe this is expected. This is certainly expected of the Tories in Wales, in the Welsh Senate. Next, the party to win 17 seats is Labour. And again, given the disaster train that Labour are in right now, I'll tell you right now, it could be worse. It could be a lot worse for Labour. Yet, they're still holding on to the seats they still have left. May not be much. Again, it's better to have something than to have nothing at all. And okay, now we have down to the final 2 parties. And the party that's projected to get the most seats will actually surprise you. Then again, not so much. Nonetheless, it might surprise you just a little bit. The party that is projected to win 32 seats in the Welsh Senate, Reform UK. a couple months ago, Reform UK were actually on top to win the most seats in the Welsh Senate, but now they dropped down to second, according to recent polls. At the time, it did say that I'm not. I had a feeling that Reform might have a chance to win the most seats in the Senate. However, I am not going to rule out the other party, which I'm about to mention, because I know that support for that other party, specific, particularly in Wales, is very, very strong. And even if Reform doesn't win the most seats, I know for sure that Reform, regardless of how many seats they win, will play a role in how the politics in Wales continue forward in the next few years. I know that for sure. Okay, finally, now the party in question. Now, the other party in question, which I'm about to mention, who is projected to win 36 seats, is Plaid Cymru. Yeah, good on you, Plaid Cymru. This is expected. After years of Labour rule in Wales, there is no doubt in my mind, even with dominance of other parties doing well in other places, Plaid Cymru will potentially be the party that will next lead the Welsh Senate. Of course, the Plaid Cymru is short of a few seats, so they are going to have to form coalitions with other parties. Now, in the last few polls for the Welsh Senate, I was thinking the Greens could partner it with Plaid Cymru, given that the last few polls showed the Greens having slightly more seats than they currently have. That is showed according to Britain.vote.now. Yet, given the 3 seats the Greens are projected to win, so compared to the Plaid Cymru's 36, that adds up to 39. And the last time I checked, I believe parties need at least 49 seats to hold a majority in the Welsh Senate. So yeah, Plaid Cymru is going to have to form a coalition with another party to get bills, legislation to pass within Wales in the ways that they want to get things passed. And according to Britain.votes.now, the only viable coalition partner for Plaid Cymru is going to have to be Labour. Now, well, this is no different to the current Welsh Senate government. The only difference is Plaid Cymru has the upper hand. They have the cards. Labour needs Plaid Cymru more upward after the upcoming Welsh Senate election, much more than Plaid Cymru needs Labour as it stands now. But if not Labour, I will say that I do I do have the feeling that the Greens will win more seats in the Welsh Senate than what Britain.votes.now is projecting the Greens will win. If the Greens don't win enough seats for them to be a viable coalition partner with Plaid Cymru, then Labour it is then. I doubt. There's no way Plaid Cymru would form a government with Reform. I'm genuinely doubt that a Reform Plaid Cymru coalition will ever work. And if it was going to happen, Labour would have to be the party that wins the most seats. So yeah. So next, Scotland, as the Scottish Assembly elections in Holyrood. Now, according to according to the polls of the website I've already mentioned, the way Scotland's election works is different to the Welsh Senate. The Welsh Senate is using a new system, which is different to the current system that Scotland will be continue using. The Welsh Senate used the D'Hondt method, where a number of seats are allocated to parties in line, in relation, or proportional to the number of votes that parties get across the many constituencies within Wales. And then, so firstly, according to D'Hondt, the party that gets the most votes will be the party that will be given the first seat. And then once a seat has been allocated to that party, we then look at the party that still has the most votes, and then you divide the number of votes for that party by the number of seats that the party currently holds plus 1. So in Labour's case, 30,000 votes divided by 1 seat, which they have gotten in a hypothetical scenario, plus 1, put together, then the number of votes that Labour has for a given constituency is halved. Taking that into account, is there any parties that have a higher vote share than Labour, given the math equation that's put in place? And if so, Reform is to be given the next seat. And then, just like with Labour, who have already gotten the seat, the same math equation is then applied to Reform. The number of votes that Reform have gotten, 27,000 hypothetically, divided by 1 seat that they've gotten, plus 1, just as a filler. And then you repeat the process over and over again until all the seats in a given constituency within Wales have all been allocated. That's how the D'Hondt method, in short, works for the upcoming Senate elections. This is the first time they'll be doing this. The last system they've used prior to this is the system that Scotland is going to continue using for their upcoming elections for Holyrood, where one half of seats are allocated to members of Scottish Parliament across its many constituencies using first past the post system, where the candidate with the most votes is the outright winner, no questions asked. The other half of the seats are allocated to parties using the D'Hondt method. I'm not sure if it's the D'Hondt method. I know that after seats are allocated to parties based on the results that they got within constituencies using the first past the post system, using those one half of the constituency results for Scotland, then parties will then be allocated regional seats where the D'Hondt roughly a system is used where seats are given to parties based off how many votes they have. The more votes a party gets, the more likely they are to get to be given a seat. Even after taking into account the equation where the number of votes a party gets divided by number of seats that party has already been allocated plus 1, if that party in question still comes on top, they'll still be given another seat until eventually another party still comes up on top, even taking into account this particular math equation I just said, where that party will now be given a seat. And based off that particular electoral system for Scotland, one half constituency first past the post system elected MSPs, and then the other half of seats for MSPs elected using the D'Hondt method, where seats are given out to parties proportional to the number of votes they receive, taking into account the seats they already gotten. Here are the results for Scott, or at least here is the projected results according to print.votes.now for Scotland's Holyrood elections. The party that's projected to get 6 seats across both electoral methods are the Greens. Not bad, it's expected. I feel the Greens could get slightly more seats, not too much, but slightly more seats than what the projected polls are predicting. Party that's projected to get 7 seats. The Tories. No comment. I have no comment whatsoever. Next, party projected to get 9 seats. Labour. Again, no comments. I've said enough about Labour. I'm not going to say any more. That doesn't go on as tangents. Next, the party that's projected to get 11 seats in Holyrood. Liberal Democrats. Pretty cool, actually. That's a pretty good result. Again, it's not guaranteed. It is it's a pretty good result for the Lib Dems, nonetheless. The party projected to get 13 seats across both electoral methods. Reform UK. I spoke with Risk about he did, and Risk actually asked me, "Will Reform do well in Scotland?" And I replied, "No, no, they won't." And yeah, actually, no. At the time, Risk asked me about Reform doing well in Scotland. I told him, "No, I don't believe Scotland will do well in Scotland." I also I also added that Reform would have to do really well in Wales before Reform does very well in Scotland, because I know that the support for Reform is much smaller than the support that Reform gets in Wales. That is my perspective. And even when Reform are projected to get 3 seats, again, I don't believe it's not, I don't think it'd be enough to make much of a difference in the Scottish Assembly. It is, however, a much bigger achievement for Reform to get that much support in Scotland as opposed to getting support across Wales and all across England. That's because, again, as of the time Risk asked me about Reform support in Scotland, it's not that big. There's I have a gut feeling that given posts online and social media, there's a handful of Scottish people that have strong resentment against Reform. That's the reason I believe Reform will not get a good enough result in the upcoming Holyrood elections. Even taking that into account, Reform will win a couple seats. So yeah, that is that. And then of course there's one more party that needs no further introduction, and that particular party in question that is projected to win 83 seats. The Scottish National Party, or SNP for short. Again, similar to Plaid Cymru, it is expected, although slightly disappointing in my opinion, given the previous result that the SNP has gotten in previous Holyrood elections. They still come out on top. They still do. The question is, how long will the SNP still hold on to their current position until other parties get a grab at the helm? Oh, we can't be too sure about that. And also, I think this will continue for many, many years, in my opinion. So, next, and finally, local mayoral elections. Not devolution mayoral elections, local mayoral elections. And there are 6 going on, and 5 of which are, of course, in London. The other one is Watford. And yeah, that's it. So, given the local mayoral election results, the parties, firstly, the one independent, well, it's not an independent, it's actually another fringe party, Aspire. Aspire is the party that will win the one of the mayoral elections in London, specifically Tower Hamlets. And you know what? I can't say I know much about what goes on in London and what Aspire is all about. Nonetheless, Aspire will continue to do very well in Tower Hamlets in London, and they will continue to do well. Next, the party that will also win one local mayoral election, specifically in Watford, Liberal Democrats. Pretty cool, pretty cool. I'll leave it at that. And then finally, all of the local mayoral elections in London, the party that wins 4 of those is Labour. Still holding out. Still holding on to and still delivering pretty decent results. It's not as good as what it used to be, they're still winning local election results nonetheless. And that is the projections for potential local election results in English council wards, well, Senate seats, seats for Scottish Holyrood, and then the local English mayoral elections. Now, Risk 11 not responded to that link showing the forecast for the local election results. Risk replied, "I don't believe that's accurate for a second." And then I replied, "And that's not taking into consideration Restore Britain or your party." And I think that is important to mention. Whilst there's no way, at least this year and the next, Restore Britain and your party aren't going to pull off the same level of results as the Greens or Reform, they will make a shake-up in local elections nonetheless. And they will actually win a handful of councillors that Britain.vote.now is not currently taken into consideration. It's not that advanced to take into account other smaller parties that could also win councillor seats and win control of entire local councils. It's only a matter of time before Restore Britain and your party make a name for themselves, even if one of the two parties are in quite a pickle right now, given their internal administration. I'm not going to say who it is. If you know, you know. If not, then uh, I'd advise you research that. I can tell you, but I don't want people to be too reliant on what people hear online or see online. All these people like me. I'd still advise people to actually go beyond such content like this and figure out and find out for themselves. So yeah, that is all. And that is it for just the one thing that I've sent in the group chat. With that being said, let's get right into the news. Meta tests Instagram Plus subscription with exclusive story features in select countries. What? No. I mean, I'll give them a look. I'll give them a shot, but still no. That's my honest opinion. On Monday, Meta confirmed it is testing Instagram Plus in select markets, including the Philippines, Japan, and Mexico, with monthly pricing ranging from approximately $1.07 to $2.20. This initiative follows Meta's earlier commitment to test premium subscriptions across Facebook and WhatsApp. Unlike Meta, verified targeting creators and businesses, Instagram Plus focuses on everyday users. Premium Instagram subscribers gain tools like extending stories beyond 24 hours, creating multiple audience lists, and using super hearts for reactions, while also viewing stories without the poster knowing. Modeling the service after Snapchat Plus, which has over 25 million subscribers, Meta aims to boost non-advertising revenue, though analysts note potential concerns regarding subscription fatigue. While testing currently occurs in at least 3 countries, Meta continues to evaluate which features provide the most value before potentially rolling out the service further. I will say I'm not going to argue about platforms providing premium subscriptions for features that only they would have that other users won't. On the other hand, it is now coming to a point in our lives that there will be features on many platforms that do come at a price, and it's not that big. Not saying it's not that big of a deal. It is only the beginning. What if then there are bigger tiers providing more features, and then for those people paying the highest tier are many levels ahead of other users that aren't using any subscription whatsoever? It's creating this division of paying users and non-paying users. Again, I can't argue about companies trying to make a profit to keep their servers running and providing services for their users. I would say there has to be a line being drawn regarding what separates paying users from the users that don't pay at all. That is all. Also, in the next few years, what if people who are paying for a Instagram Plus subscription realizing it's not worth the hassle? I can get these features for free anyway, just not as much. And people will think that these features aren't worth paying the price for a premium subscription. And then people stop paying for that subscription, and then the amount of revenue that Instagram is generating from these subscriptions start to reduce, and now they're not making as much money as they used to, and need to find other ways to make a profit to keep their service running, provide other services for other users. And the third thing, blimey, goodness, it's always there. It's right in front of you. Sophie Turner, injury halts filming on Tomb Raider TV show. Amazon MGM Studios announced a brief production pause on the new Lara Croft series after lead actress Sophie Turner sustained a minor injury. Filming in Los Angeles, which began in January, is currently suspended. The Sun reported Turner has a pre-existing back injury that progressed while working on set. Amazon MGM Studios confirmed the pause as precautionary, though no further incident details have been released. Created by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, the series features Sigourney Weaver and Jason Isaacs. The show follows archaeologist Lara Croft's adventures, with Turner pictured in the character's iconic green tank and shorts. Turner takes on the Tomb Raider mantle following Angelina Jolie and Alicia Vikander. Jolie starred in the original films, while Vikander portrayed the adventurer in the 2018 feature. Amazon MGM Studios expects to resume filming as soon as possible, though the project currently lacks a scheduled release date. Turner previously stated she is thrilled beyond measure to play the role. Well, I hope Sophie Turner recovers from the injury that she currently has. It'd be unfortunate to not get new movies that would have been released at the date that was being proposed, only for one of the actors or actresses to get an injury. And then now the date has been pushed back a couple more years. Or at least a couple months, not a couple years. Nonetheless, hopefully Sophie Turner recovers, and filming shall resume as soon as possible. Alliance SwiftPass announces price increase in public transport by 3.9%. The price of the general season ticket will increase slightly more than that of single tickets. The half-fare travel card will become 5 francs more expensive. The bonus for the credit pass packages of the half-fare plus travel card will remain unchanged. However, there will be adjustments to tickets for bicycles and dogs. Details of the fares that will apply from the timetable change in December 2026 are expected to be announced in the spring. Alliance SwissPass justifies the fares adjustments with rising costs, but also with political decisions. Regarding the latter, she points out that Parliament, with the relief package, has eliminated the reimbursement of mineral oil tax starting in 2027. There are also cuts in the financing of regional passenger transport. The credit line for regional passenger transport is therefore significantly lower, but significantly below the industry's registered needs for the 2 years, 2027 and 2028. In the 2027 relief package, we received additional financial resources, but not to the extent that we can offset the cost increase, says Strategy Council President Marco Luthi. Price increases are a sensitive issue for customers, Luthi was quoted as saying in the press release. Therefore, the industry examined the move very carefully. Higher prices are necessary, however, to secure the range of services, the quality, and the investments in the long term. And that is only possible through corresponding co-financing by the users, says Luthi. The public transport sector is investing in modern vehicles, infrastructure, and services. It was stated. Those using public transport benefit from more frequent services and new offerings. The passenger advocacy group ProBahn expressed shock when contacted. This price increase comes as a complete surprise to us, said Bastian Baumer of ProBahn. The goal had actually been to attract new customers, and you certainly don't win those over with higher prices. Once again, loyal customers are being penalized, said Baumer. For example, GA, General Abonnement, users. This will lead to more people switching from the GA to regional travel passes for commuting, and then for every leisure trip, they'll consider whether driving wouldn't be a better option. This is incompatible with Switzerland's climate goals, Bomas argues. You know what? Well, firstly, why did I speak in the way that I spoke when I read that article? And I'm doing it right now. I don't know why I'm speaking like this. Maybe I don't know. This is just my brain computing. Haha. Anyway, but seriously, back to the story. Again, I'm not sure why I was speaking like that, as I am right now. So, in regards to transport fares, yeah, I understand that there is going to be a costs and there are going to be expenses that has to be covered. To cover the costs of maintenance for the trains, the cleanliness within the interior, and of course for the stations as well. There's costs and expenses to everything. The high cost of public transit would likely, if not now, deter people from using public transport. Even when costs are justified to the maintenance of the trams, the trains, and other services for keeping stations clean, the prices as it stands now is only going to deter people, more so if not now, from even using public transport to begin with, and would only encourage people to drive to communities that they would have gone to if they had taken public transit. And I'm not just going to say expand the routes so people can take transport to every corner of the country. No, even if that were to happen, and it does do something for the better, not even that's going to be enough. There has to be a balance between money coming from the public sector and money coming from the private sector. Public and private have to work hand in hand with one another. And whilst people will disagree of will disagree with getting private investors and companies involved with public transit matters, what would happen if the public sector don't have enough money to cover the existing expenses and maintenance costs? Where else are you going to get the rest of the money from to cover those costs and expenses? It has to come from somewhere. If not just the fares that people have to pay to use the public transit, then who? That is a good question. There could be investors, private investors, that could get involved to cover the remaining costs. There has to be a variety of different revenues of getting funding for public transit in any way possible. And that is it for the episode.